when I was in the MTC, one of our teachers gave us this analogy. He said, Russian people are like watermelons. Took us a long time to figure out what he meant because he was talking in Russian, but he said, Russian people are like watermelons. They have this really, really hard exterior shell that's really hard to break through. But once you do, the inside is just soft and sweet and just a delight. And I thought it was kind of weird at the time, but having lived in Russia for 18 months and lived with the people, I completely agree. So much of TV and movies presents Russians as really hard and mean and cruel, and that's not true. They're just protective. They're careful, but if you make the effort to break through their shell, to get to know them and find out what's important to them and what you can do to help them, they'll just open their arms to you. In the video about food, I talked about how they will just insist on feeding you, and that's just one more piece of evidence that Russian people are one of the most giving, selfless people I've ever known. My first day in my first city, we had a lesson with a woman who had a really difficult life. She had problems with her husband and her children and her job and money, and there was just a lot going on with her that was really, really difficult, and I could barely speak to her. But when I walked in the door, I hadn't bought my boots yet. I was wearing shoes, and it was the middle of winter, and in the midst of all her difficulty, she turned around and said, "Why are you wearing those shoes? You're going to catch a cold and die." And she was very brusque about it and terrified me out of my wits, to be honest. But she cared about me. And she went out of her way to make sure thereafter that I was always wearing the right shoes and that I was eating enough and all of these things. And she kind of became like a second mother to me. And I had actually throughout my mission opportunities to go back to that city on splits and other things to see her and talk to her and make sure that she was doing okay. And she was always, always so concerned about me, about where I was and what I was doing and if I was all right, despite everything that she was dealing with. And that's really evidence of what they're like, that they have hard lives, like anyone, but in the midst of all those hardships, they will turn outward and look to people and serve and give away things that they need, but they know that other people need more, and just love and love and love and love. And they won't be super open about it like some people. They won't gush or say, "I love you," but they'll give you things. They'll feed you. They'll point out if you've lost weight and things like that. Just little things that really mean that they care. And if you watch, you know that they care a lot. So once you break down the barrier, you've got a friend for life. It's truly amazing.